Hello, and welcome to Leadership Table Talk, a show designed to help you develop and improve your leadership skills and talents. I'm your host, Dr. Mary Gillum, a retired Air Force colonel and former member of the Senior Executive Service Corps with the Department of Defense at the Pentagon. But more importantly, I am a Christian who believes in miracles. In today's episode, we're going to not only see someone who is a walking miracle, but hear his incredible story. Please help me to welcome the author of The Walking Miracle, Memoir of a Modern Day Job, Tyuan Rice, and his lovely wife, Patty Rice. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Let's begin by just telling the audience a little bit about you guys' background.
I just want to thank you for allowing us to come on the show, my wife and I.
You're welcome.
And I live in Bowie, Maryland.
Yes.
I reside there with my wife and two daughters. And we've been married for almost 30 years in August.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thanks.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm.
In my spare time, I like to go fishing, and I used to do a lot of work with the volunteer fire department and some work with the police department of Prince George's County.
Yes, wonderful. Well, Tyuan, let me just ask this. I know the book is about a modern day Job, and there are some who may not even understand or know about this story, what Job did in the Bible. So can you kind of give the audience a little bit of background about who Job was?
Job was a very important part of the Bible,
Yes.
and he had a lot of struggles that he had to rely on God and his faith to go through. And
Yes.
a lot of his possessions and stuff was taken when he was so upset, but he was still trying to maintain his faith and so forth.
Uh-huh.
And part of my process was just like his.
Yes, absolutely. Being familiar with the story of Job and so forth, I know it just took a lot of strength and a lot of faith for him to continue to hold on throughout all of the things that came up against him. And we will talk about some of those things as it pertains to you as we proceed. So, Tyuan, you've written this wonderful book here, The Walking Miracle, Memoir of a Modern Day Job. But let's just begin from the beginning. Why did you write this book?
It wasn't my intentions to write the book, but God kept pressing me to write his story of what he did for me and what he could do for others. Because a lot of people has a lot of health issues, and they think they're the only ones that have a problem, and there's no outlet for them because they really don't want to talk to their family members about it. So they seek their friends. So God was allowing me to go through that process where he could tell his story through me.
Oh, that is wonderful. So from the beginning, can we just start there and just kind of share with the audience what happened from the very beginning in 2013?
2013, I was working out, getting ready to be on the police department for Prince George's County. I was working out every day. We did a family trip to Myrtle Beach. And in my normal routine, I get up and run 10 miles a day, but this particular Saturday, I was running in my shortness of breath. So I knew, self-diagnosed with myself being, a volunteer firefighter, it only happens when I was active, so I would stop doing anything that was active to promote that harsh of activity. So I went back and told my wife what was going on, and she started to analyze and dissect, we need to go to the hospital and so forth. And I told her we couldn't do that because I didn't want to ruin this whole year worth of trip we planned.
That is so true. That is so true.
So Patty, you said, "Oh no, we're not having this." Can you kind of pick it up from there?
My husband, he was stubborn in that moment, and he said, "No, I'm not gonna. I don't want to ruin the trip. I'm just gonna, remain, kind of inactive and kind of take it easy." And so he did that the rest of the trip. And then when we got back to Maryland, he wound up, we wound up going into the doctor's office to see what was going on.
Right.
And thankfully, when he saw his primary doctor, they had him take a stress test. And that's when it was revealed to us that something was going on that needed a closer look.
Right. And I know in reading the story that you went into the hospital and you first went in to get the stents put in. And can you kind of pick it up from there? Because I know that there was a lot of life-shattering things that took place there.
Yeah, the chief surgeon at this major hospital began to do the operation to put stents in me. They said I had clogged arteries. And come finding out my arteries was like a 10-year-old, perfectly open and clean. And as he went further into what was going on, he noticed my heart. It was badly scarred and damaged, like somebody had used drugs and drank all his life, and he was so afraid to tell me. But he had to tell my wife to tell me that it was nothing they could do for me at all. With the main heart muscle, there's no doctor in the world can work on it.
Well, and going back a little bit before that, we talked about the brown door that was in the book, and you did not want them to take your family behind the brown door. What was that like for you when you were sitting in the waiting room before they even called you back, and you kept saying, "No, God, please don't let them take my family behind the brown door"?
Yes, I know there was a pattern when different doctors would come out and they would take certain people behind this particular door. And I noticed when they were coming out, they were crying. So I was like, man, this is not good. 'Cause I see other doctors coming out and talking to family members right there in the waiting area. So I already put two to two together. It's like, if they talking to these people out here in the waiting area, their news is good. But when the doctor's calling the family members, we need to speak to you behind this door, it wasn't a good feeling. So I was saying, God, please don't let them take my family behind that door, because I don't want to hear that news and watch my wife go through that process.
Right. And you were going, you were the guy that was running 10 miles a day.
Yes.
10 miles a day. And this began to happen.
Yes.
This began to happen. And then, Patty, when you guys finally went in, but the doctor had already talked with you, because I know, Tyuan, you were like, you saw her face when she walked in and you knew something had happened.
Yes.
What was the conversation like with you, Patty, with the doctor?
Well, it was really disconcerting. He did take me behind the brown door. I said to the doctor, okay, well, how many stents did you have to put in? Because that's what we were expecting.
Yes, exactly.
And he said to me, we didn't put any stents in. There's another issue. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, what is going on? And he said, well, honestly, it is a condition called cardiomyopathy. And that is major damage, irreversible basically, to the main heart muscle. And he said, and I'm gonna ask you to tell your husband, because I can't tell him that news. It's basically a death sentence.
Wow.
That's what he said to me. And I was just numb in that moment. I just wasn't sure what to do, but I knew what I had to do as a wife. And so I just said, God, give me the strength. And I went to see my husband to tell him.
I don't recall, Tyuan, how old were you at that time?
46.
You were 46 years old. 46 years, and to have that message, because your girls at that time they were grown.
Yes.
Yes.
One was getting married, and the other one was in college still.
Yes, and to have that news. But there's something greater that we're going to get to that I couldn't wait. I could not wait to have this interview, because I just want to remind the audience of how we met. We were down at the Hampton Literary Film Festival, or Library Festival at the time. And you guys are from Bowie, and I'm from this local area here in Virginia. And we had to go all the way down there to meet. And then when I got your book, well, you began to tell me about the story. You said, Patty, if I recall, you said, he's a walking miracle.
Yes.
And then you began to tell your story. And I was like, oh my God, I have got to read this book. And I told you guys, when I picked up the book, I could not put the book down. I had to finish reading the book and have you guys on to share your stories with the rest of the world, because people need to hear what you guys have had to say here. And so we're going to continue on with this interview here, and hopefully I can get through it without crying.
Me too.
Your name, okay. So we talked about that, but I want to the diagnosis itself, and when the doctor said that we basically have done everything, and I know you had to go through a change of physicians because you had to take a stand.
Yes.
Can you talk about the stand that you had to take?
The stand is a powerful stand because for me personally, when you have doctors, they want to do certain things, but I was refusing to go against what they wanted to do.
Yes.
And they already told me that I wasn't going to live long. So I'm saying, why should I go through all this major surgery?
Right.
And this ain't going to help me.
Right, and yes, in essence, they wanted to put in a pacemaker.
Yes.
A heart
yes.
transplant.
And the heart transplant. And when we said, okay, is this going to affect his quality of life or do anything? And they said, no, it won't. And so we were like, why would he have surgery for if it's not anything that you're able to do to correct the problem?
So I'm hearing miracle.
Yes, I started
Miracle.
because my health was starting to decline because I took a personal. Because I had back in early May, I claimed health over my body.
Yes.
And then a month later, I started getting sick.
Right.
So I said, I refuse to go through this path of getting a heart transplant, going out, getting a pacemaker, because this is going to change the way I live. I like to fish. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things you can't do on the water with a pacemaker. So I said I refused this. So I had to give myself to God.
Yes, absolutely.
I had to give everything that I had, every ounce of strength I had to give to Him because I couldn't fight that battle by myself.
Oh, that is
so
awesome.
true.
You were going to say something?
In the decline, it was so fast. I mean, my husband, as he mentioned, he's an extremely active man. And to see him then relegated to the family room, unable to come upstairs to our bedroom, losing over 100 pounds in 4 months because he couldn't keep any food down. I mean, all of these things happened overnight in the hospital. About at least 3 times a week for congestive heart failure.
Oh my goodness. Well, it looks like we're coming up on a break, so please stay tuned and we will continue this conversation after the break because you want to hear the rest of this story.
I'm Essie Patha-Murkerson, an actor, but I'm also one of nearly 26 million Americans with diabetes. To help reduce the risk of serious health problems, my doctor and I tracked my A1C, which is my average blood sugar, over 2 to 3 months, and we created my personal treatment plan that includes lifestyle changes and medication to help me reach my goals. When you have diabetes, achieving your A1C goal is key. So talk to your doctor and visit bloodsugarbasics.com today.
Welcome back to Leadership Table Talk. Today we're actually talking about a miracle that took place back in 2014, and my guests today is Tyuan and Patty Rice as they're sharing their story with the world. And so we're going to continue this conversation, guys, because it is so good. So you shared with us about what happened at the hospital and so forth. And so now I want to ask, as a Christian, why was it important to take a stand against all of the negative that was coming in terms of some statements that had been made, but you knew you needed to stand firm? So can you talk about that?
Yes. I believe in my God.
Yes.
And when my Jesus Christ tells me what He's going to do for me,
Yes.
I have to take His word.
Yes.
I have to.
Uh-huh.
But I had to go through the process.
Yes, the process.
And the process wasn't easy, what I had to go through.
Yes.
And I was thankful that I had to go through that process because it gave me a better understanding why my faith is with Him. And I wouldn't change it for the world, what I went through.
That's amazing.
And I asked God, why me? Why me? he told me if I had given it to somebody else that would have committed suicide,
Oh, wow.
I gave you this because I know you would be able to handle it.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Wow.
So when he told me that, it was a challenge for me. And it was a rough challenge.
Yes.
Not to be able to walk in my own house. Couple of steps would put me back in the hospital.
Yes.
Couldn't pick up a gallon of milk. I couldn't do the husband or the daddy things
Yes.
because it was a setback. But I relied on my faith
Yes.
that he will heal me. And he did.
So Tyuan, oh my goodness. So you're going to have to tell us, because you said that God had already let you knew that he was going to heal you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. It's funny how things work. My father-in-law was sick and he was dying of cancer. My wife was taking care of him, went to her siblings, and taking care of me. And it was like taking care of an infant all over again. And my wife was about to have a nervous breakdown, and God revealed to me when my breakthrough was going to come.
Yes, yes.
So I told my wife, I said, baby, the Lord spoke to me and told me in June I will be healed. But I had to go through this harsh pain, the sickness, the affliction that was upon me to see if I was true to him.
Right. Right.
And he saw that I was true. And he said, I'm going to heal you. But I had to declare it
Right.
every single day. No matter what you go through in life, there's opportunities, but you have to believe within yourself that you can be healed, you can be delivered from anything. But you have to have that mental mind state of believing.
And then when it came down to the doctors who were saying things like, I know one particular doctor just did not believe that it was going to take place and was trying to push you into a certain direction and so forth. But I remember, Patty, if I recall from the book, you spoke up and you're not going to have this because you knew what the Word of God said and that you had to be firm in what you believe. Can you kind of pick up from there?
Yes, we did have one incident in particular. We had several, but this one in particular, the doctor was pushing for Ty to get the pacemaker. And we both said, no, we're not doing that. And she got to me this close. And she said, you know he's going to die. You need to get your house in order. You need to plan his funeral if you don't have this surgery. And I said to her, no, my God said he's going to heal my husband.
Yes.
And I just kind of said it, and I just stood firm with that. We both did, because the doctors, they would tell you all kinds of things. And like Ty said, but when God lets you know something, he let us know, yes, I'm going to heal him. We had to stand on that no matter what we saw with our natural eyes.
Right, exactly. It's the faith that goes beyond the natural.
Yes. Yes.
The faith beyond the natural.
It is.
So let me ask, at that time, you guys were also preparing for your daughter's wedding.
Correct.
Yeah, and I remember in the book you said, God, just let me make it to the wedding. Yes.
That was my only fear that I had. I wasn't afraid of dying because I already knew where I was going. My biggest fear was cheating my daughter out of her wedding.
Yes. So you also talked about how your organization was so helpful in this process. Can you kind of talk a little bit about those individuals as well?
Yes, it was several of my co-workers. They were constantly checking on me,
Yes.
making sure I'm all right, and even though I wasn't supposed to be there. But it was, the outpour was overwhelming. to see true friends.
So I want to make sure before we end the show today that not only do people recognize that you are truly a walking miracle, but when it came down to June of 2014, walk us through what happened, because there were some things there that kind of, okay, God, you promised this. Okay, pick it up from there.
Ooh. My wife always was on the phone with her prayer partners. And this particular day, she said, I got Pastor Danny coming over to the house to pray over your body. And Pastor Danny had saw me before when I was healthy. Mm-hmm. So on this particular day, he came over, he saw me, he was speechless, because he didn't recognize who he saw in front of me, because you can see the definition of my skull, my eyes were sunken in, and my skin was gray. Mm-hmm. And it was just, and my body was smelling.
Organs shutting down.
Yes. Because I've told people about the book, because I said, you would not believe, the person I saw and the person that was described in the book are like two different people.
Yes.
But please continue.
And he came over, and he had a difficult time of praying over me by looking at me and knowing what he saw before his eyes.
Yes.
But he still did his job as a pastor. Mm-hmm. And it was the prayer was overwhelming, it was so powerful. Mm-hmm. And he was like, you got to forgive for unforgiveness. You got to let it all out. Right. So I'm just releasing everything to God, everything. And start feeling sleepy, getting sick again. I stayed sick all the time. And later on that night, I went to sleep. I told the wife, I love you. Tell the girls I love them. Kiss them for me. And the following morning, the following morning,
I
had screamed because I had lost my voice. And my kids and the wife, all of them ran downstairs. So the norm was when they hear me, rush to the hospital, and the doctors are already waiting with me with the crash carts and stuff. But this time, they were all shocked. I'm talking to them, my voice came back. And
you were dressed. You were fully dressed. He had not dressed himself in months.
Oh my goodness. Look at God. Oh my goodness.
He was dressed, and I'm like ready, because I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get to the hospital. And he said to me, I feel like I've never been sick. And we started screaming and just shouting and like praising God.
Yes, absolutely.
And I made him the biggest meal, because mind you, from when he got sick in May 2013 to when he was healed June 2014, he had not really been able to eat. He couldn't keep anything down.
Right.
It was just, all coming back up. And he sat down and he ate a full breakfast, and that was the first time in all that time that he'd been able to eat.
So you've been going around sharing the testimony in the not just the local area but around, which has just been so powerful. What would you say to somebody who's going through what you went through or something similar?
My advice would be never give up.
Yes.
Don't listen to the doctors per se. You have to be an advocate for your own health. And just give everything you have and believe in yourself to fight it.
And listen to God.
Listen to God. Oh my goodness. And your church family was just there from the beginning.
Yes.
Yes.
And I had to go back to this major hospital to do all my tests and stuff over, and
they couldn't believe it.
They couldn't believe it.
Oh my goodness.
They was afraid, because one of my doctors, like, I was afraid to look in your report because we thought you expired.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
But yet when he did the stress test, they were shocked by what they were seeing, so shocked by it that they forgot to turn the machine on to test. And so he had to do it again. And they were like, what happened?
What happened?
And he said, God healed me.
God, nobody but. Nobody but.
So they wanted me to be a do a case study, I refuse. It's like, no. No.
But I have just been so inspired because I told you guys, as I read the book, there were things that I even experienced that I shared with my family, and I sent out copies and stuff like that because I know that there is that realm of forgiveness that has to take place
Yes.
in our lives.
Yes.
And to be true and open and honest with our Father. And I just want to say thank you guys for coming on the show today. I don't know where the time has gone, but I would say this, that for anybody who would love to find out more about this story, The Walking Miracle, Memoirs of a Modern Day Job is on Amazon. And so I just say thank you, Lord, for just allowing us to meet.
Yes.
Because this was truly a remarkable, I call a God moment.
Yes. Yes.
And so again, I want to thank you guys for coming today. And I want to thank you guys for watching. And if you have any questions at all about this particular show, and as you can see, I cover all kinds of topics here because I truly believe even as a leader, you need to understand where your strength lies and where your strength comes from. And so if you'd like to know more about me, please go out to my website at executiveleadershipbiz.com. And this is Dr. Gillum. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.